Hello and welcome to a new Hangout on Air. I'm very sorry for the delay. We were facing small technical issues, so I will get right into it. My name is Sibel, and today I will be discussing the basic things you need to know about conversions. So, what are conversions? How do we track conversions? What are the type of conversions we need to track? And where do we see the information related to conversions? Let us start with the first part, defining your business goals. What are conversions to you? What are the goals that you that you consider as a conversion? So it's pretty much, what do you want your visitors to do? If you're in e-commerce, you want them to make a purchase. If you are a business that requires phone calls, you want people to enter your website and give you a call, or maybe sign up to a mailing list, or look at or share a certain thing on social media. All those make up goals, or hence they make up conversions. So if you are someone interested in product purchase, your goal is for people to purchase your products at higher numbers, then your conversion, or what you will be tracking in terms of conversion, would be defined as product purchase. That goes for all the other types of goals that you have or that your business has. Now, when we're discussing conversions, we group conversions into two aspects: macro conversions and micro conversions. Macro conversions are the very basic ones, or the general ones that we all know: e-commerce, product purchase, lead generation, phone calls. Those are the very basic ones, the ones that usually directly result in revenue, because it's just, I make a call, reserve, and I will be paying, then you'll make some profit. There are micro conversions. That's another group of, or another type of conversions, and those are like video views, PDF downloads, G+, following on G+, or social share. Those are actions that are taken on your website that might lead to a bigger purchase, or to you getting money or profit in the future. It is as well, or it's as important to track micro conversions as it is to track macro conversions. So now that we discussed what are conversions for you, now that you know that your conversion is purchase of a product, or just people signing up or sharing one of your videos, now that we have defined that, how can you track it? In terms of tracking, you need to set goals on analytics. So the best area, or the best way to track your conversions, you go back to your analytics account, and there you set up what we call a goal. So goal is the same as conversion. We have three types of goals, as you can see in front of you on the screen. You have the URL-based goals, the in-page events, and the transactional e-commerce. URL-based goals is when you have a website, and that website, and when people reach that page on your website, for example, the thank you page, you would consider it a conversion. And usually that's the case because after you sign up for, or you enter the information, the user enters the information on the website, clicks on submit now, they will be directed to a thank you page, which in turn, if you had the conversion code there, or if you are tracking it, then you would know that people already did the first step, which is submitting the form at the beginning, which resulted in what you call a conversion, or what you're interested in. So that is the first type of goal, URL-based goals. We will go into more details on how to set up URL-based goals. Other type of goals is in-page events. As I mentioned, the micro conversions, which are as important. How, let's say you have a certain button that you're interested to see how people would react with. It could be a video as well. You want to see how people are, where are they playing it, where are they pausing it, are they going through it to the end, or if you have a certain button about, let's say you have 3 promotions or 3 different categories in your website, you're interested to see how many people are interacting with one category and compare it with the other categories. So using event tracking, you can see that as well. We are going to go into more details about in-page events, and of course transactional e-commerce, the big one, the basic one. Someone made a purchase, that is a conversion. What was the value of that conversion? How did it increase my revenues? What was the flow so we have to reach that transactional e-commerce or transactional conversion. So all that is, you set it up. All those 3 types of goals are set up in analytics. Let us start with the first type, which is URL-based goals. URL-based goals, as I mentioned, it's all about having a page or telling the system or telling analytics, I would like to consider when someone lands on this page, domain.com/success.html, for example, as you see in front of you on the screen, you would consider that as a conversion. So the goal would be completed. Set up that, you go into your admin page in analytics. In the admin page, you would have a category called goals. You select that and you create a goal. Upon creating a goal, you can create up to 20 goals per one profile. So you have, which is a very good number of goals per profile. So when you go and you set the goal, or you say plus new goal, first of all, you would have to give the goal a name. We usually do not recommend leaving it under goal name or goal number 1, because when you go back to check the information, or you go back to see acquisitions, the acquisition part of analytics, to see, let's say, if your ads, certain ads that you have on AdWords resulted in the conversion, it can get messy if you don't have specific names for those goals. So if everything was called goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, and let's say you reach to 20 goals for that profile, you will get to a point where you would not know what conversion are you discussing, what's actually happening. So always make sure you have that set. Let's say in our example, submission of the form. That's the goal. So we call it submission of a form or lead form submission, as you see in front of you. And then you select the URL, the goal type, URL destination. And you reach this page that you see in front of you, where they will request that you select a match type. So before we proceed into the goal funnel, I would like to focus a little bit with you on what do we mean by match type. So as you can see here, you have the 3: exact match type, head match, and regular expression match. The difference between them is pretty much how to deal with it. It takes into consideration the extras that you have at the end of a URL. So as you can see, you have www.domain.com/success.html. In the first category, you have both head match, exact match. It's not an issue because it's just success.html. However, in the next example, an exact match would not work for you because you have small extras like transaction ID, session ID, extra information, which is represented on the screen as TID equals to 123. So that you would need to have a head match, not an exact match. So if you use the head match type, then what you type into the goal URL box when configuring a goal will match on anything before all the extras. So if the actual page that loads up is success.html with anything afterwards, it will still match. However, if you use exact and someone types in the URL with those extras at the end, what you type in, so yeah, exact match wouldn't work here, so it will not match. As by default, we do recommend to have the goal set on head match, not exact match, because in many cases you have those small extras, and it wouldn't make sense not to add them or to lose the match or the conversion just because you had selected exact match. For those that are familiar, and regular expressions is usually, you would need to be more familiar with it, is more technical than head match and exact match. It provides you with maximum flexibility, so it is recommended, and you can learn more about it using the link just in front of you on the screen. So when you go into that link on the screen, you would get more information on how having regular expressions would result in better flexibility, especially if you have URLs with a lot of smaller points. As well, when it comes to that, because it's more technical, we do recommend that you reach out to us with any of your questions. We discuss the tags or the website with you, and we can recommend the most appropriate match type for you. But as a first, or if you're new to setting up a goal, go for the head match at the beginning, and then you can start developing and playing around with regular expressions. Now we go back to the goal details and the goal funnel. So after we've selected, sorry about that. So we go back to the goal details and the goal funnel. So after we've selected the match type as exact match for this one, because the goal URL is just .html. There's no extra nothing added afterwards. So we don't need the head match in this case. We would need to set a goal value. A goal value would be how much, for example, the submission of the form. It might result in you contacting them, and they purchase from you upon that call something that's worth 10 dirhams, for example. So the value of that conversion would be 10 dirhams. It would be interesting to have a goal value. It is optional, especially if it's a form submission that you cannot give a value to. However, it would be beneficial if you can give a value for that goal completion. For later on, when you're looking into the data, you can see exactly how much revenue you've made just from the number of completed goals or conversions. The goal funnel, which is something optional, and you can set up in analytics. It's interesting because it will allow you inputting information in the goal funnel will give you an overview later on, and we will see that overview in a bit, of of the behavior of the user on your website before they actually made a conversion or before they actually completed the goal. So in our case, the funnel only has 2 steps: the form itself and then the thank you page. So they go to the form and then to the thank you page. So if you're imagining a case, so goal funnel would be great for a case where you would have lots of goals that have more steps before that. For example, like an e-commerce checkout. First you go onto the shopping cart, and then you enter the billing information, then you put your shipping information, then you confirm, and finally you get to your thank you page. So assuming we're having more than one step, so as you can see on the screen, it's only one step, which is form, go into the form. Step 2, submit form, go to the thank you page. Assuming it's an e-commerce where you have step 1, go shopping cart, you input, go to the shopping cart. Step 2, entering billing information. Step 3, confirming. Having those steps written down under goal funnel would allow you to have a better overview of when the user is doing that purchase. What did he do? Maybe when he reached the billing information, he stopped the purchasing process and he just left. If that was the case over time, it means that there's a problem with your billing page. Maybe people are having difficulty inputting their credit card numbers and things are not clear, or there's an error taking place every single time. That means you need to edit it. As I mentioned, we will see a basic, or we will see how that would be communicated in analytics and how beneficial it could be in a bit. Now we go back to analytics. As soon as we have set the goal, which was submit the form or go to the thank you page, so the URL was the thank you page, you can now have a better understanding of which source or the medium that resulted in your goal completion. So for example, for goal 1 conversion rate, which means the completion of goal 1, over Google or organic search, 4.4% of the goal completions came from organic search. So people searched for your website, went to your website, submitted the form, went to the thank you page, and you got it here. Similarly with AdWords, for example, someone clicked on your Google CPC, someone clicked on your ad, entered the website, submitted the form, went to the thank you page, goal completed. 2.83% of all the calls that you had completed came from your advertising. So that would give things more meaning. Just having, so you could now understand that maybe your organic search is really good, you're better off in organic, and you need to maybe emphasize more on your Google search or on your advertising, on your advertisements to enhance your exposure there, to increase the conversions from that source. As you can see, and you can have an overview of the contact form submission as well. Under conversions and analytics, you will see the funnel that we have set up earlier, what we were discussing earlier, the step 1, step 2, step 3. In our case, we said we have 2 steps: going to the form and then submitting the form. As we can notice here that 3,753 people enter the form, 3,342 people leave, okay, before they actually submit the form, and only 411 people actually submit the form and the completion of the and which will be equated as a completed conversion on analytics, or a completed goal. That would give us, so that would be 10.95% only of all the people that have entered the form and started writing in or typing in the information have only submitted it. That could be to you a very low number, and the reason around it could be that the form is not very clear. People don't know why are they submitting that form, why are they submitting their information. Maybe you need to put a brief description on that form to describe to people what exactly is happening. They might trust it more, submissions might increase. If it weren't for the goal funnel or for that aspect of the analytics for that overview, you would have not known about that problem. Same goes with our e-commerce e-commerce example. If someone left after the billing information, that means that there is a problem with the billing information page, and you need to fix that. Now, that would be everything you need to know, or everything you need, the main points you need to know about URL-based goals. The second type of goals that we discussed are event goals. Event-based goals are when people are interacting with your page, and it's not just when they reach a certain page. Let's say you have a page with a video, a follow us button, and a download button. You are interested to see how many people are interacting with the follow button. So they're actually clicking on the follow button and they go to the appropriate page to do so. Or they're clicking on the play button on your videos, or they're clicking on the download a PDF document as well. So you don't have access, or you cannot put a URL, you cannot put a tracking code or conversion code or an analytics code on a PDF page. However, you can say that I would like to see how many people clicked on that PDF button, which in other words means that they entered the PDF document. So that is the main purpose around event tracking, because it allows you to track interactions, especially that if you cannot track the landing page that comes after the interaction. Same with the video. You play the video, you don't go anywhere. You cannot track if they landed after they played that video. So you need to track just the play button, which is exactly the information you need to know. To do that, you're required to have a very small code set on the event. And usually you will find those codes on our developer guides. So you do find that on our help center. The code is usually set, as you can see in front of you on the screen, per category, action, and label. So it's divided into category, action, label, and you fill it in. When, as I mentioned earlier, if you have any questions about tracking codes, is that the correct code? Where do I set it up? What are the matching types that we discussed earlier? Do give us a call. Do chat and do reach out to us. We would support you on the spot regarding that. So back to the screen. Let's say in our video example, the play button. The category would be video. The action would be to play. The label would be the video name. It could be your ad, for example, or a video that describes the product description video. Similarly, if you're interested as well in the pause, you'd like to see how many people paused or how many times a user paused through the video to have a better understanding of customer behavior on that video. You go for category video, pause, and video name. Similarly, social. Similarly, for the share button, it's a category under social. The action is to share. The label is Twitter, Facebook, G+, based on what is the social platform that you're interested that you're interested that your users would be sharing on. And then you go to the tag as you see on the screen, the GAQ.push, and you put track event, and then you put the category, the action, and the label. And you put that code on the page. Similarly, as well, there is always an optional value field. We discussed how important sometimes having a value could be. It is as well optional for event tracking. It can show you seconds played in a video. That could be the value, or the average, and it's quite numeric. So you could see that it's added after the 30-second spot, and its value is, let's say, 30. So it is optional. However, you do have the option to add a value to have a better understanding of that interaction, of how that interaction is resulting in terms of goal completions. Now, if we go back to analytics, and we'd like to see numbers, we go to event goals, or you check, as you can see, event, and then under events you will see the video, the application download. You can see an event category, and then you'll have a better understanding of, for example, the video. And if you go, if you look or take a thorough look into that, you would see how many times, let's say, video was played versus how much it was paused versus how many times it reached to the end. So as you can see here, it wasn't reaching to the end. It kept on just play, pause. So that would give you a better understanding for the event reporting. How to set up event goals after you've set. So first step was creating the code, putting the code on the page. Now, how can you set up that? How can you set up that event goal? So you go again to plus goal. You say video completion, as well, as I mentioned earlier. Very important to have a very relevant title for the goal name. Then you go for the goal type event, not URL destination. So our next type, which is event, and you would select the category, the action, the label, the value. Exactly what we discussed earlier. So begins, that is equal, that matches. In our example, the video, that matches video, that is equal to finish, so matches the full video, and it is equal to And when it matches the full video, it means it is done or it's finished. That's what the title is. And then when you go back to the page that we were earlier on, that one, you would see which one was finished, the goal completion of that versus paused versus played. That is exactly, so that would be the overview. Now, that as well is everything or all the main points you need to know about event goals. Again, if you have any questions about URL-based goals or event goals, do reach out to us. We would support you on spot. It would be more specific to your website. It could get, because it is a bit more technical, and it requires a more customized approach. Now, let's go that again. Let's go to the final type of tracking, which is e-commerce. We've discussed this earlier in one of our hangouts on air regarding e-commerce when we were discussing measurements and attribution. So I will go through that quickly or faster, just so as a reminder, as an overview of what we've discussed earlier. So in terms of e-commerce, we are interested to know. We're very interested to know the product name, how many. So we have a product. How many products did people purchase? What was the value? What was the quantity? What was the revenue that we got from that? Does it include shipping? It doesn't, or doesn't, or not. All that. So everything you see on the screen: the order name, the tax, the shipping, product name, product category, price, quantity, revenue, average price, and quantity are all the information that you need to input in your code, and you're interested to see on analytics. Of course, as we discussed earlier, with e-commerce, we are not replacing inventory management, accounting systems, or order tracking. As an e-commerce business, you need to have those separately. You need to have inventory management, accounting systems, and order tracking separately, and analytics does not replace them. Now, how do we set up e-commerce in Google Analytics? You go to your profile settings, you select yes, I am an e-commerce site. It gives you a script. The script is practically made up of 3 parts that we will discuss right away, and it will provide you, upon having this 3-part code set on your pages, it will give you information of how many, for example, if you're selling socks, how many red socks were purchased, the quantity, what was the revenue, versus blue socks, and what was the revenue, and then you'll have a subtotal of both, and how much the shipping. So all this information that you see or is viewed while your order is being processed before you check out is the information that would be communicated in the code and would be communicated in analytics. So it'll give you an overview. So back to the code. As I mentioned, the code has 3 main parts. The first part, so if you say A, B, C, and D, the first part, A, would be just the code that is given by analytics. It's there. You just need to copy and paste it on your pages, and that is when you say yes, I want e-commerce, you get this code. It's a very small alteration on your analytics code that you already have on your website. The second part is the one that you need to customize, the one that you need to work on and input information. There you input the order ID, the affiliation, the total, the tax, the shipping, and optional, you can add the city, the state, and the country. And it will directly be, and those information would be communicated in analytics. Just having them there, as I mentioned, half of this information, or the main part of this information, is available on the checkout pages of your purchasing. As I mentioned, like the type, all that. As well, you need to go a bit, as well, in the third part, so at the first part, it was general, the category, the order, and order ID in general. Then the second part would be more product focused. So the order ID of product 1 which is, for example, red socks. That's the product name. It is within the category socks. Its price is 5. The quantity is 2. Similarly, the blue socks as well, order ID, exactly how you see it in front of you on the screen. You just input this data in the code. And finally, the last part of the code is as well, just this is what you see on the screen. You copy it, you put it on the website or at the end of your 4-part or the 3 main part code, and it will tell the system that I'd like to have all this information that I just inputted in the code. I would like to have it translated or transferred to analytics. Without this, nothing will go into analytics. Then you go to your analytics account, you go to e-commerce, product performance, and you would see how many red socks were bought, what was the average price, the blue socks, green socks, brown shoes. You compare and have a better understanding. How much revenue did it get you? That is an overview. That you can have, that information you can easily have with your account management tools or your tracking tools or your inventory management tools. What's interesting to have here, for example, is time of purchase or time of purchase and the time to purchase. If we go, for instance, if as you see here, as well, that is something we've discussed earlier. So let's say we visits, we'd like to see how much time did it take before the purchase was completed or before someone bought red socks. For example, you can see that a lot of people, about 127 transactions happened, so 127 purchases were made after just entering the website directly. We have up to, let's say, 4 purchases, for example, 1.97% of all the purchases were made after 2 days, which means people entered the website the first day, they saw that, they went to other websites, checked other things, and came back and made the purchase. This information is super relevant and super interesting to have when you are tracking customer behavior on the website. It will give you a better understanding on consumer. It will give you a lot of consumer insights that later on, as an advertiser, you could make use of when you're creating your campaigns. Great source of insight. Similarly, how many visits did it take before you make a purchase? It could be 1 visit, it could be 6 visits, it could be 7 to 25 visits. As you can see, 11.33% of people actually took them 7 to 25 visits before they actually made the decision of making the purchase or buying the socks. Similarly, it shows you, if you want to see as well, the source of traffic. You can see and how much the value was. Google organic versus the direct, and the value of that transaction. So you find that under all traffic. So just setting up e-commerce will give you the overview of how many purchases, give you overview of the time of purchase or time to purchase, and it gives you an overview of the source or where did the traffic come from that resulted in e-commerce. Similarly to what we discussed earlier, knowing the source would allow you to optimize certain channels versus other channels, or focus on some channels more than others. And the last part about e-commerce or e-commerce tracking, it is to track non-e-commerce. So we can use e-commerce tracking to track non-e-commerce. So let's say, because let's say you have different kinds of leads coming from the same form. For example, you have one form, and in that form you have bronze and diamond. So people are interested in purchasing or knowing more or signing up for, let's say, purchasing bronze, and other people are interested in purchasing diamonds. So that would be the question. But you'd like to understand how many people specifically are interested in bronze and how many people specifically are interested in diamond. In this case, we cannot use URL conversion tracking as we did before, where it is just submit the form, because the conversion wouldn't be, or the interested goal or the information that you are interested in is not how many people are submitting the forms. However, it is how many people do we have that are submitting bronze, the form selecting bronze, and how many people are interested in the form selecting diamond. So that is the information you're interested in. So you can use e-commerce tracking to get that information. So you go back to the code, and you alter it in a way that you add the order ID. For example, just 1, 2, 3, 4. You don't need, like, it shouldn't be as accurate as in shopping, because or as in the e-commerce tracking. The category would be lead, of course, and the product name. So that where the difference would be, the product name would be bronze, and the product name would be diamond. In terms of price, in terms of people interested in bronze, that would be worth $1 for you, for example, and diamond, it would be worth $5. Just an example. And then as well, you go back to the pages that we discussed earlier on analytics under e-commerce. You can have a better understanding of how many people selected bronze versus how many people selected diamond upon submitting that form. And so in that way, you would actually be using e-commerce tracking for something not relevant to e-commerce in any way, as the example showed in front of you. So that would be it. That was the last part of today's Hangout. We discussed all types of goals, URL-based, event goals, and e-commerce goals. We've had, so it's pretty much an overview that you need to have about conversions, about what is ideal for you. Start defining your goals, start defining your conversions, start setting up goals and analytics, any of the 3 types of goals. If you have any questions on setting them up, what is the most appropriate goal for you, how would that actually increase or enhance your business, any specific questions you have, please do reach out to us. We are available from 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. in Irish time. So in the UAE, that is from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. your time. We are available on chat, on phone, and on email. If you send us an email, expect that respond to you within 24 hours. We can email you back. We can give you a call. So we are here to answer any of your questions on the spot, especially if it's questions that require looking deeper into your type of business or your industry or your website. So do reach out to us. As well, if you have any other questions that you'd like to post on our partners page, do post it using hashtag #AskAdWords, and we will take a look into them and we will answer them. Our next questions, our next Hangout on air would be in the coming 2 weeks. It would be about any questions that you might have regarding today's Hangout on air. Please do post your questions there. We would take a look at them and answer them for you as soon as possible. Thank you very much for watching, and I am looking forward to seeing you in the next one.